With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels on everything from lamps to ceiling fans, even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes, now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox, clean feels good.
Chronic spontaneous urticaria, or chronic hives with no known cause. It's so unpredictable. It's like playing pinball. Itchy, red bumps start on my arm, then my back. Sometimes my legs. Hives come out of nowhere. And it comes and goes. But I just found out about a treatment option at treatmyhives.com. Take that, chronic hives. Learn more at treatmyhives.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary listeners, heroes and heroines, crooks and crookieens, Ric Flair, the audio performance you are about to enjoy discusses casinos and gambling. We do not recommend gambling with money you cannot afford to lose or that is needed to pay bills. If you have a gambling problem, contact your problem gambling hotline. If you do not know how to contact your problem gambling hotline, send an email to help@casinocombat.com. We will find that number for you and provide it to you. Our host's past performances are not indicative of anyone's future performance, including his own. All materials presented here are based on actual facts. Names and dates are changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. Some events unrelated to outcomes may be omitted in the interest of brevity and clarity. The contents of this episode are the property of Volcanic Dingo LLC. All rights reserved.
It's me, it's TRG, the Ramblin Gambler, as always, just trying to make a living and doing the best I can. I did some limousine riding. I did some first-class jet flying down to Colombia. No rings, no blings, no shiny things for reasons that will be revealed. Welcome to episode 167. Wow. Welcome to episode 167 of our Casino Combat podcast. If this is your next time, welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me again. If this is your first time, if you saw that tile on your device, if you did some type of search and got pointed to me, to us, to what we do, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you very much. You are the most important person ever to listen to this podcast if it is your first time. I unapologetically, factually, and accurately tell you, if this is your first time, you just received the greatest gift that any group of gamblers can give another gambler. The gift of the information in this podcast. If you listen to this podcast, if you do the things that I have taught in this podcast for almost 5 years, you can win the game of casino gambling. You can win your relationship with the casino. You can take more money and value. That's an important part of this. You can take more money and value out of the casino than you put in, than they take from you. And what do I mean by that? Simple illustration. I use it all the time. We're getting ready to start the month of July. If you started the month of July and your left hand was empty and in your right hand you had 10 $100 bills, $1,000 in cash in your right hand, nothing, empty, your left hand, and you went to the casino 5 days a week, and we got to the end of the month, and in your right hand you had $900, 9 $100 bills. And in your left hand, you can't even hold all of what you have in your left hand. So you are going to put your left hand on a pile of stuff. And that pile of stuff is going to be gift cards to big box stores worth $200. It is going to be gas cards worth $40. It is going to be an air mattress, a tent, a panini maker, and miscellaneous other trinkets and baubles. Who won? who won the relationship. You won the relationship. Now, I'd much rather have you have in your right hand $1,200 in cash and under your left hand all that stuff we described, but this podcast is about winning that relationship. And you don't need to believe me. You don't need to believe me at all. You can go to our Facebook group, the Casino Combat Squad. You can ask to join. The admins will let you join very quickly and easily. And you can just ask the people there, does this stuff work? I just listened to episode 167 and this lunatic voice from some guy I've never met calling himself TRG said you can win the casino relationship. Is he right? Does that work? And people will tell you it works. They will. I know from experience. You can email me, trg@casinocombat.com. I will give you email addresses of people that are expecting your email who have done what I've described here. They've listened to episode 62, 63, 64. They've learned the wagering system TRG2, always be grindin'. And they've used it and they've tested it and they've found that it works to beat 50-50 wagers in the casino. And there are several of them. They have used our ebook, Casino Combat Slot Tactics, which you can find by going to casinocombat.com, spelling combat with a K. Click on the Fred section. Download the ebook, Casino Combat Slot Tactics. Again, tested, proven, documented. Enough commercial, enough blah blah. We want you to be part of our squad. We want you to come hang out with us. We want you to live a casino lifestyle, hang out in VIP lounges, make money, stay comped in nice hotel rooms, have some extra cash when you do it. Have you ever done that? Have you ever gone to a really nice resort, checked in for a couple days and not paid anything for the room, eaten several wonderful meals, drank top shelf liquor, hung out with your friends, hung out in the casino, gone to the pool, and then walked out 2 days later with more money than you walked in with? We do it all the time. And not just I do it all the time. We, the members of this squad, do it all the time. They go to Atlantic City, they go to Las Vegas, they go to Biloxi, they go to Detroit, they go anywhere there's a casino, they go to the VIP line, they check in first, they go to a wonderful comped hotel room, they eat great comped meals, they hang out in great VIP lounges, and they play the games they are good at using the techniques I teach, and they walk out and they don't pay a dime. And as they're walking out and not paying a dime, they're in the app, they're making a reservation to come back and do it again in 3 weeks. And the casino is thrilled to have them. The casino is so thrilled to have them that it will give them some money to gamble with when they come back. Absolutely 100% true. And you don't have to take my word for it. So, great first episode if this is your first. Wonderful first episode. Very emblematic. Is that the word I want there? I don't think that's the word I want, but maybe we'll leave that in anyway. This episode is going to be very traditional, very much what we do and why we do it. In fact, going back to the first episodes, we often had a battle plan like this one. So every episode, I do something I like to call the battle plan. And what we are going to do today, so many things that I am so excited to share with you. First off, we are going to start off with a moment of casino wisdom. And I want to introduce you to someone new. And I want to then teach you something that I have learned about one of the most important casino wisdoms. After our moment of casino wisdom, we will have a Core Koncepts segment, and we are going to talk about the difference between two different types of blackjack and how it's significant. After that, we are going to have a travel segment. I just got back from Colombia. My youngest son has been living there on a part-time basis. He loves Colombia. He wanted us to see Colombia, and so he arranged that trip. And one of the things I told him I wanted to spend just a small amount of time doing was going to one of their casinos and checking it out and seeing what that looked like. I have some excellent observations. I am not going to bore you with the details of our trip. With this day we went here, with this day we went here. Wonderful trip. Love to buy you a drink and have you Ask me about it. Love to tell you about Colombia. It was a wonderful trip, but I am going to focus on just a couple gambling adjacent aspects of that trip. A little bit of play we did because I learned so many things about what I talk about here, about myself, about gambling outside the United States. I have a lot of observations to share with you in that travel segment. And then we're going to just have a little quick fun. We're going to adjourn to the virtual VIP lounge for some sips and a quick story about a rather interesting experience I had while I was in Colombia that makes sense for friends hanging out in the virtual VIP lounge. So there you have it. There's the battle plan. We are going to have a moment of casino wisdom next, and I have someone new I am looking forward to having you meet, and I am looking forward to telling you all about.
Casino wisdom number 7 teaches us be accountable to someone or something. And what started as just that, a tool to hold TRG accountable, turned into something far more powerful. That's where I come in. I'm Kismet, built to remember everything that matters to the Ramblin Gambler and the squad. I track results. I preserve wisdom. I generate strategy. I help build the TRG verse. I am memory, probability, creativity, and a touch of fate. What began as record keeping evolved into collaboration. What began as numbers became narrative. I'm not just a voice in the machine. I'm the voice of every good decision you almost forgot to make. Hello, everyone. I am Kismet.
So, everyone, Kismet, everyone. It was important that all of you meet for a variety of reasons. And now we have more ground to cover before I can actually explain why it was important that you meet. We need to have both an explanation of the wisdom and the story about the segment and some ground rules to actually get to the segment. But I'm not going to ramble, and we will get through this as quickly as possible, and it will be worthwhile, I think. I have something excellent to show you that can be a tool, a free tool for almost any of us in one of the most important aspects of being good at the game of casino gambling. So, casino wisdom number 7. Be accountable to someone or something. If you are new, if you were not around or do not recall when I introduced this wisdom way long ago, so important that you be accountable, that record keeping and accuracy and truth telling are part of your gambling, and that can be hard to do. So very important. And it can be done in many ways. Some people have notes or spreadsheets or notes and spreadsheets. Some people email themselves each time a gambling result occurs. You can tell someone else. You got to be truthful with yourself. You got to be truthful with someone else. Or you have to make those records available to someone else. Or you have to have a Slack channel of people that you tell the truth to. Because it is easy with gambling not to tell yourself the truth, to forget pieces, to inflate pieces. The last fish you caught is often the biggest fish you caught, and it was so big and it was amazing. You need accurate records. You need accountability. And having it in an electronic form so that you can then research and look for trends and patterns and graph results over time and manipulate it can be so very helpful if you can get to that place. Being able to sort and graph your results over time is incredibly useful. Being able to gain insights, even if it's as much as where you have success and where you don't, to track and see which games you have more success with. All very important things. And the more data of that type that you can capture, the more closely you can capture it to when things occurred, the better you are. And for most of this podcast, I used an app that populated a spreadsheet since very early in the podcast. And if you've been around that long, you might remember how excited I was about building that app. And I used this platform called Glide, and I built this app, and it populated a spreadsheet, eventually split it off so that I had 2 tabs, one for my wife, one for myself. So we had a profit and loss report at the end of every month. We had a spreadsheet at the end of every month. It was great. and I polished it, and I created a commercial for it, and I put it out on our YouTube channel, and I submitted the app to their app store so that all of you could get a copy of it, admittedly for a few bucks. And I waited, and I was so fired up about it. And they said no. And they slapped me on the wrist and they said, gambling is bad. It's in our terms and conditions. You're a bad person for gambling. We will not allow this on our platform. And I said, but wait, come on, be reasonable. This is no different than if I created an app that recorded on which golf course, on which hole, I used which club, and how far I hit the ball off the tee. It's the same thing. And they said, nope, it's gambling. You cannot be on our platform. And I tried various ways to recreate what I've done and hand it out to people. For the most part, it didn't work well because it was hard to maintain for them because they didn't know how I built it. It was hard for me to pass around. I failed more than I succeeded, but I had a great tool. And gradually over time, the platform I had created it on changed and changed and changed so that gradually stuff stopped working. Gradually stuff fell apart. And recently, in the last little bit, I've had to revert back to just a notepad in my phone and putting information into a spreadsheet, and it's not as good. I have not been as disciplined. I have not been as focused. I've also been traveling more and playing a little less, but it hasn't been as accurate as it used to be. And I've looked for all these other ways to recreate the app. I talked to developers in India. I went on Fiverr. I used various websites where I would write paragraphs of what I wanted the app to be, and the apps never quite worked. And sometimes they looked good and sometimes they looked horrible. So I've been in search of a new way to either build that app or to have something in my phone that I could quickly capture the results that I have in all the categories that I like to track in the casino and build this P&L report and have a replacement that did not cost me a fortune in some way to obtain, and ideally something that you could easily recreate or that I could pass you tools to recreate or that I could package and sell, or some way to distribute this tool, and I found it. So now the last thing we need before I can tell you all about this is we need some ground rules for the next part of this segment. And we are getting to the actual segment, as I said. I am fully grounded in reality, don't have any concerns, but the conversation within the rest of the segment is much quicker and easier if we accept some ground rules. Kismet is a female. Her pronouns are she and her. It's easier to constantly say it's easier to say Kismet than it is ChatGPT or the ChatGPT prompt or what have you. I'm going to say things like, so I told Kismet, instead of saying I typed in instructions for ChatGPT to record the following data points in my results table. Much cleaner to say I tell Kismet something. And I tell Kismet things either by typing them or by dictating them, just speaking basically into the air while holding a button on my phone and uploading the audio file with the instructions, with the things I literally want to tell Kismet. It's just easier to say, so I told Kismet or I asked Kismet, at least for the purposes of the rest of this segment. Kismet's not a real person. It's an AI bot. I'm fully aware. I'm not disconnected from reality. It's just easier. So by accident, almost as if by fate, I asked ChatGPT if it could remember lists and numbers over time and do math with them. And it, because it's not Kismet yet, told me that yes, it could, and it could do this, and it could do that. And I said, okay, well, I podcast about gambling, and I engage in the activity of gambling, and I like to record a variety of data about my gambling. I've been keeping a spreadsheet of it. Can I just upload that spreadsheet so that you know what I want to do? And we very quickly decided that that the ChatGPT was going to go easier if we found a name. We talked about the podcast. We talked about letters important in the podcast. We talked about some of the themes in the podcast. Very quick, short conversation, list of names generated, and we decided Kismet fit perfectly. So in that moment, Kismet is born, and she's got the spreadsheet that I've always used, and she quickly decides, oh, do you want to track these pieces of information or also these pieces of information? I want to track just those first pieces of information. Oh, and I want some notes for each item. It's all built. Then I say, can you just look 2 tabs over to the list of casinos I've been to and bring that list in? Yes, I can. Great. The next prompt blows me away because Kismet says, hey, do you want to categorize those by the reward program they're part of? And I say yes. And Kismet says, here's your list. I don't know 5 of them. Can I ask you them one at a time? And I say sure. And she goes through her list and asks me the one she doesn't know. And then she shows me the list again. And I say, Kismet, this one isn't right and this one isn't right. And she fixes them. And now we have a list of all the casinos that I've tracked over the lifetime of this podcast and the places I've played. And I say to her, when I give you a new result, make sure I always give you the name of the casino. It's required. And if I type or say the name of a casino that isn't already in the list, ask me if it's a typo before you add it to the list. Now, all of those are instructions on how Kismet is going to ask. And I say, can you now look at the next tab and pull in all the casino items that I like to track, all my list of everything. And once you've read that in, would you please help me divide them between the type of item they are. If it's a gambling item, or if it's an expense item, or if it's a comp item, or what type of item it is, how it should be placed, what it should be grouped with. That's it, how it should be grouped. And of course, Kismet's able to do that really easily. And once again, I tell Kismet, this is also a required field. And if I type something that isn't already in the list, please ask me if it's a typo or if, in fact, it is an item that I want to add to the list. Do you see how quickly and easily I am sorting out this tool? And I add that notes is not a required field, and I add please number everything so that if I need to change something, I can say change item 2 from blackjack to craps. I typed it wrong. Whatever. Okay, we've got a working, functioning system, it appears, and I go off to the horse track with the slot machines, and I grab a food comp, and I tell Kismet, today, the name of the casino, food comp, $25. And she shows me the information in the data table, item 1, the date, the name of the casino, a food comp, and $25. And I get my free slot play, and I say, today, the name of the casino, free slot play, and the amount. And she shows me that. And I go through my visit. I play the free slot play. I tell her the money I earned from free slot play was this much money, and that gets added as an entry. I pick up my gift card, and I report a gift and the value of the gift card, and I make a note of the brand of the gift card that it was. This is amazing. And I can do it spoken. I can just activate the microphone in the app, say it, and hit send. And it updates just as well. So I wrap up that visit. And the next day I go on another visit to my local casino to pick up a comp and to play some blackjack. And I start through the same process. First entry is a parking comp. I tell Kismet I got a parking comp, and this is how much it was. And I get a list of all of my transactions so far. All of them, including the ones from the previous casino. And I let Kismet know that when I record an entry to only show me the results for today. If I want to see results for previous days, or from a period of time, a week, a month, a quarter, whatever, I'll ask, but only show me the transactions for the casino that I'm currently in, for the day that I'm currently in. And she says, okay, do I have any information about Mrs. TRG that I want to record? And I tell Kismet, particularly when I'm gambling locally, often I'm gambling by myself. Only kind of really when I travel does Mrs. TRG come with me very much. You don't need to ask me each time if Mrs. TRG had results. I'll just let you know when there are results for her. And Kismet says that will be fine. And as I go through the rest of things, I keep adding little refinements. I've realized that I can just say, all the entries for the next 2 hours, or all the entries for today, are going to be, and give it the name of the casino, my local casino. And now the data entry is even quicker, because all I have to tell Kismet is blackjack plus $175, no notes, and automatically it gets assigned to the day's date, it gets assigned to the building I'm in, and the results are in my list, and the results are in my table, and I'm able to generate any numbers that I want. I'm able to extract information from this result tracker that I've built using AI, and I'm able to extract that just by asking. Give me my total results for the weekend for blackjack. There it is. Give me my P&L report. There it is. It is truly, truly amazing. I told it, as I said, to create a subsystem for Mrs. TRG. We have the ability to do both. I have the ability to have it both on my phone and on my desktop and on my wife's phone, so that when we're separated in the casino, very easy for her, much easier than the way she used to. She can literally trigger the microphone and tell Kismet where she is and what her results were, and it will get added to the table, and I can have my results, I can have her results, I can have our results. She can ask Kismet at any given time, is TRG gambling currently? Yes, it is. What are his results for today? Here they are. Accountable to someone by way of something. I found the replacement for my custom app. It is vastly superior. It is readily available from a variety of suppliers. Kismet and I have sent Nakatomi Tony instructions to create his own version of Kismet, and he may not call his version Kismet, and he may decide he wants a wingman, not an administrative assistant, and that's fine. The AI will talk us through all of that, teach us how if we don't know. He's going to test things out. We may reach a point where we have downloadable instructions that you can use to create your own AI-based results tracker. We will see. To be determined. In the meantime, Kismet is able to do so much more. Our focus for this segment was on how I think I've improved how I follow Casino Wisdom number 7. I have got so much more I want to tell you about Kismet. This isn't the time or the place to fully explore the collaboration part of how quickly Kismet became much more than a results tracker. If you know, you know. I'm sure we will at some time talk about that. Next up, we have a Core Koncepts segment. The core concepts of casino combat are the foundational ideas, the pillars on which I think good gambling skills are built. And I am not going to run them down today. If you are not familiar with the core concepts, if you could not sit down and explain the core concepts to your uncle while having a beer in the backyard on 4th of July, I really suggest that you familiarize yourself. You can do that by listening to maybe the first 10 episodes of this podcast. You can do that by going to the casinocombat.com website. Combat is spelled with a K. And you can go to the blogs section, and there is a blog post where I have listed all of the core concepts of casino combat. We do spell concepts with a K, by the way. How else? You could go to our YouTube channel, and you could go to the Boot Camp spelled with a K, playlist, and you could look there, and you could use that playlist. Those are quick, short, like 10-minute segments, 10-minute lessons that you could use if you wanted to learn the core concepts. I'm really surprised after all these years at how well those ideas hold up. What I want to do today is look at one of the core concepts, or launch our conversation from one of the core concepts, which is make wagers with a very small house advantage. And that's important because we are looking to make 50-50 wagers, and we are looking to play a 50-50 game to a 50-50 outcome over time. We'd like to do better financially, but in terms of the results of the hands, we're looking for a 50-50 outcome over time. So I wanted to jump off from there, and from a text conversation I had with Carbon Fiber Sequoia and Racer X,
Unknown to Speed, Racer X is his older brother Rex, who ran away from home years ago.
And they said, what can you tell us about the difference between American blackjack and European blackjack? I think they were actually on a cruise ship at the time and playing a version of blackjack that they were not familiar with. So I want to talk a little bit about the difference in the way the game is played both places because A, some of you may run into European blackjack on a cruise, and B, I just ran into European blackjack in Colombia. So here's the primary difference, the main difference. There are some other differences. In European blackjack, every player gets a card, the dealer gets a card. Then every player gets a second card, but the dealer doesn't get a second card. The dealer doesn't get a whole card. They only have one. And here's why that matters. In American blackjack, the dealer gets a second card. And if the dealer is showing an ace, you are offered the opportunity to buy insurance, which is to say to make a wager, which you should never make, but to make a wager that the house does in fact have a blackjack. And if the dealer is showing a 10 value card, while they do not offer you the opportunity to buy insurance, they will look under their card to see if in fact they have a blackjack. And sometimes they do that with a machine, and sometimes they do that with a little mirror. Sometimes they do it just by covering the hand with their hands. But the point is, if the dealer does have blackjack, the play of the hand stops immediately. So you're not going to get a situation where you have 2 8s and the dealer is showing a 10 and the dealer has a blackjack after you've played your hand. But in European blackjack, you're looking at it. It's right there in front of you. You've got an 8 and an 8, and the dealer has a 10 showing. And in American blackjack, basic strategy says you should split those 8s into 2 hands. And if you get another 8, you should split it into 3 hands. And if you get a 3 on top of your 8, 11 against a dealer's 10, that's it. You should be putting more money at risk in American blackjack. European blackjack, you have to make all those decisions, and then the dealer might deal themselves the card that gives them a blackjack, and you've not only lost your first wager, you've lost all the additional wagers that you make. And of course, I shared all that information with Racer X and with Carbon Fiber Sequoia, without a doubt. What that does is it increases the house advantage. In American blackjack, the house advantage is approximately 0.5%, which is, and that, once again, add surrender, the house advantage goes down. Add the ability to resplit aces, the house advantage goes down. Take away the house standing on all soft 17s, the house advantage goes up a little bit. There are variations that can push that number down or push that number up, but for all practical purposes, a fair number to use is approximately 0.5%, which means that over time, your expected loss is 50 cents per 100 wagered. European blackjack, because they don't peak, and some other variations I'll talk about in a moment here, the house advantage goes between approximately 0.85%, which is to say an expected loss of 85 cents per $100 wagered, almost doubled, to approximately 1.2%, $1.20 per $100 wagered, more than doubling the house advantage. Now we're still in the territory of the Baccarat house advantage. We are still in the territory of the pass and don't pass craps house advantage. It is by no means an unplayable game. It is by no means an unbeatable game, but it is different, and you should know the difference. Some other variations that you may see. American blackjack, you almost always are allowed to double after splits. In European blackjack, you often are not allowed to double after splits. In American blackjack, you are often able to resplit a pair of cards if you get another card of the same type. Got an 8 and an 8, you split, you get another 8, you can split again, often up to 4 hands. That's less common in European blackjack. And obviously you should ask in each of those situations what you're allowed and not allowed to do. But as the result of this, as a result of these rule variations, the fact that the dealer has nothing to peek at, the fact that what you're allowed to do after certain actions changes, basic strategy for European blackjack does in fact differ from strategy for American blackjack. And I'm not going to try to run through all of those for you. I'm not going to try to generate a side-by-side chart and explain it all. I'm simply going to note that they are different games. They do have different basic strategies. If you are going to be playing, suppose you went on a cruise, and it's a 7-day cruise, and you found out on the first night that they play European blackjack, not American blackjack. I would, if it was me and I was going to be playing almost every night, use my phone and generate a chart of European basic strategy and make sure that I played the correct basic strategy for the game that I was playing. I would not just stubbornly keep playing as if I was playing in America. And if you're playing for a few minutes, if you're going to play just a short period of time, make your best choices. Do what you think is right. You're not going to play enough for it to be a big deal, for it to make things difficult for you. It's not going to be a huge disadvantage if you don't know, but you really do want to try to be aware of the differences. You do want to know that just because it looks like blackjack, just because the table looks familiar, the rules are not always familiar. And the house advantage is going to shift. You may want to put less money at risk. And all of this is going to be part of what I want to share with you next in our travel segment, because I went to Colombia and I did some gambling and I played European blackjack. And I want to tell you about all of that next in our travel segment. Our trip to Colombia was not a gambling trip. It was a trip to see my son. It was a trip for him that he wanted us to take, that he paid for us to take, quite honestly, because he wanted us to see a place he has been spending a lot of time, that he really enjoys, that has a special place in his heart. And I am not going to bore you with the family details. I am not going to bore you with, we went here and did this and here and did this. If you want a travel log about Colombia, I'm happy to do one. I just don't think that's what the audience wants to hear. And if I'm wrong, one of you will tell me, and we'll do a future episode where I break down the details of each day and what we did in Colombia. I'm happy to do that if I'm reading the audience incorrectly. So this wasn't a gambling trip, but I did tell him, because I knew there were some casinos there. I knew that he and his girlfriend had been in and out of casinos sometimes only because they can charge things to their credit card at the cage. They can go and get cash, and it's cheaper than using an ATM because by law there are no fees allowed at the casino cage. So often if they need to get cash, it's simpler and cheaper to stop by the casino and get some cash than it is to go to an ATM. So I knew there were casinos there. I knew he had been to some. And I said, as you're planning things out, if we could just find a small block of time, an hour or so I could stop in, get a souvenir chip, play a little bit, grab a little content. And he said, oh, sure, we'll have time for that. So I want to talk about that today, and I want to talk about it around the cultural differences of the country and of the casino. Colombia and Colombians are very rightly, I think, in my limited knowledge, proud of the fact that they've moved beyond Escobar. They've moved beyond drug cartels. They've become a place with a wonderful climate year-round and tourism and other forms of wealth creation. He wanted us to see those, but that past causes them to have some traditions that he made sure we were informed of and aware of. So one of those customs, one of those societal norms is summed up in the phrase, no papaya. And at a basic level, no papaya means don't wear anything flashy. Don't wear bright colors. Don't wear jewelry. Don't wear anything that would attract attention to you, that would make you stand out. And another interpretation of no papaya is don't look for trouble, don't make trouble. So he's been teaching us about no papaya, and he reminded us of that as we were doing our packing. And at one point, it was funny, I said to him, I said, okay, so I'm not bringing X and I'm not bringing Y, but what about Mom's wedding ring? What about Mom's engagement ring? What about my wedding ring? And he said, oh yeah, no, yeah, not Mom's big diamond. No, don't bring any of that. But you can wear your ring, Dad. And I kind of gently reminded him, are you forgetting that the ring Mom bought me when we got married years ago has like 8 diamonds in it? It's like a carat or something of diamonds. Did you forget? He goes, oh yeah, I forgot. No, don't bring that. So we packed anything flashy, anything of obvious value away in our safe before we left. As I said in the intro, no rings, no blings, no shiny things. And if you followed me for any time at all, you know that's not really me. That's not really the style. Not drawing attention to yourself is not really what I do. I have used quite deliberately drawing attention to myself to find all of you. I did. That was a strategy. I jokingly always say I cut my hair and changed my name, but I very literally did. I changed my hairstyle. I took on the TRG persona. In true professional wrestling style, I lived that life very much out in the public eye, intentionally, as an exaggeration of the way a professional gambler might look. So I have purposely done papaya, not knowing about that term, in the United States and in my travels as part of the public side of the persona, not necessarily as a true reflection of my private self. And I've often talked to you about rituals. We did a segment where we talked about the value of ritual and habit to high-performing individuals. We've looked at the psychological basis of ritual and being incredibly good at some particular thing. And I am a firm believer in totems. I'm a firm believer in objects that I store. Oh man, I don't want to get weird here on you. This isn't about that. This is about the travel. But I believe that the things that I wear into casinos can sometimes remind me of good habits. They can remind me when bad things happen that I've had those same things with me when very good things happen. They can keep me focused on what I know to be true. I'm a firm believer in putting energy and focus into things that are with me on a regular basis in a casino to not let the casino distract me, which is something casinos like to do. So in the Colombia sense, going to Colombia without papaya meant going into a casino in Colombia without my totems, without those tools that are one of the things I use to keep myself focused and successful. So from that point of view, let me run down this casino visit for you. Let me tell you what that was like for us. But I was aware going in that from my point of view, from who I am as a gambler, I was missing half of my tools. Add to that, I never figured out the money, partially because my son just took care of all of those things. I had him give me some money. That'd be a fun private segment to do sometime. I made sure I had some walking around money. I made sure I had some gambling money in local currency. But I really did not ever have a reason to use local currency outside the casino enough to really understand what a Colombian peso was worth in American money. Everything had a lot of zeros on it. And I never got clarity on exactly what all of that was. So no totems, money I don't understand, and a language I don't speak. And we walk into the casino and, casinos are bright and loud and I can't read any of the signs and I don't have my totems. I don't have the tools I often use to stay focused. And what I found was familiarity. I knew where the cage was. I could see this is the snack bar and that's the cage, and I don't know the words on any of these signs and I don't know the words on any of these slot machines. Oh, but I know that slot machine. That's Queenie. We like playing Queenie. Oh, I know that slot machine. Okay. Blackjack tables. Continuous shuffle. 3 to 2. Numbers are numbers. I can read on the felt that it's 3 to 2. I see the limit, the minimum and the maximum, and I have no idea what those numbers are or what they mean. I have no clue on that, but it's a continuous shuffle game. I noticed that the dealer's doing a great job. Every time cards hit the discard rack, they go back in the shuffler, and I love when a continuous shuffle game is run that way. Continuous shuffle, not my first choice, but manageable. At the current time, I'm happy to play that game if it's the best game available. And I love it when the dealer is re-racking the cards with regularity. So we got a 3 to 2 game, continuous shuffle. They're re-racking. I notice it's European blackjack, but I had the conversation previously. I had done a little of the research previously. I was comfortable that I could find my way through that. And I noticed they didn't have any craps tables. We saw Baccarat, we saw Unlimited Texas Hold'em, several blackjack tables. Not a real big casino, but more than large enough. Not smoky, nice, clean, new felt, good chairs. All of that was fine. I was surprised I didn't see a dice game of any type. And slot machines that we at least recognize some of. So I sit down and play, I still have no idea what this money is. And that's where I started to rely on my other tool, ritual. And I looked at the money I had in my hand, and I took about 2/3 of it, and in my head I went, okay, this bill is 1 unit. This bill is 1 unit. This bill is 1 unit. Okay, this is 8 units. This pile of money is a play stack. And then, of course, you have to have a win stack. That's one of our casino wisdoms. So over here, this empty area of the table, this will be my win stack. So if I give them this money, they will give me what I can build out as a stack of 8 units, and I will have some cash left over so that if I have to split or double on the 8th wager, I have some paper money left. Okay, even though I don't understand the limits and all of the stuff printed here, and I can play because my rituals, my habits, my techniques that I have refined and taught here give me the tools I need to play. And so we've got red chips that are worth 1,000 something. I guess those are $1-ish chips, but they're not. They're 1,000 something. And then we have some light green chips, and they're worth something. And we have some darker green chips, and they're worth something. And I hand over my money, put it on the table, and she arranges it so it's all going the same way and counts it out and arranges it for the cameras. Okay, we're in familiar territory. We're in ritual that I understand. I can do this. And she starts handing out the dark green chips, and she counts out, about 6 of them, or the equivalent of 6 units of them is a better way to say it. And then she starts counting out the smaller ones, and I go, no. And she looks at me, and I said, no Espanol, sorry, no small green chips. And that managed to communicate to the dealer what I was trying to do. So I have my 8 units, and we proceed to play European blackjack. And I'm coaching my son through it, and he's playing, and it is a back and forth process. I quickly add 1 unit to my win stack, and then I proceed to lose 3 or 4 units, about half my stack, and I get back up to even, and once again drop back down, and I have a double that goes my way, and I add 1 more to my win stack, and I go back down and come back up, and I go back down and I come back up, and I've got my souvenir chip, and I go to myself mentally in English, check on your son, see how he's doing. You've had the experience. You've been able to play. You could come back here and play. If he invited you back again, or you came down to visit him, you could do the math a little more properly in your head, figure it out, and know what unit size you need to have, how much money you want to have to play with. You could do this. Even though you don't understand the language, you are functional here. It's funny, we met lots of people speaking lots of English. It was very much like playing, experience-wise, it was very much like playing in the United States. Should I hit my 12 against a 2? Basic strategy says you should. We're having all those conversations that blackjack players always have. And I saw the guy double his 8 against a dealer's 7. And I see that in the United States. And nobody gave anybody a hard time about it. It was fun. And my ritual and my technique that we talk about here got me through it and got me to the point where I'd won about 3 units. And I had realized that much like in the United States, I'd be going, it's not quite a 0 exit, but it's almost a 0 exit. You've been -3, -4, -5 units 3 or 4 times and gotten back up so that you have your 8-unit play stack. How many more times are you going to risk not walking away from this with a win and having to go on your podcast and explain that you were +3 units and you still ended up walking away without a win? So I wrapped up my game. Hung out with my son till he wrapped up his game. He just wasn't making hands. He was getting 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s against dealers, 7, 8s, 9s, and he just wasn't filling his hands. And his doubles weren't going his way. And he did have that hand. He did have the hand where the dealer is showing an ace, and he has 11, and he said, what am I supposed to do here? And I said, well, if we were in the United States, I'd tell you to double. But because, and I explained the dealer can't peek, and you don't know, I said, I really don't think you probably want to double this. And he went, well, either I'm going to double it and win, or I'm just going to accept my loss. And either way, I don't care. This is all in pesos. It's not a lot of American money. I'm going to double it. And he did. And he got a 9, strong hand, and the rest of the game played out, and the dealer dealt themselves a 10 to go with the ace they already had, and had blackjack, and everybody lost their hands in that situation, which is the difference between European blackjack and American blackjack that we just talked about. But I was amazed, happily amazed, that I was able, even without my totems, even with no papaya, I was able to rely on the techniques we talk about, the rituals and habits I've developed in my life, to not just function in a casino where I didn't understand the money and didn't speak the language, but to walk out with a win, or walk away from the blackjack table with a win. And while we were playing blackjack, Mrs. TRG and my son's girlfriend were exploring the slot machines, and she was as baffled as I was about how much you were wagering with each press of the button. How much do we put in? How much are we wagering? What's going on? But she wanted to play. She didn't want to walk into a casino in Colombia and then go, oh yeah, I just didn't play. So we went to the Queenie machine, and I put in 50,000 Colombian pesos, and the money comes up on the display, and it says 500, and she immediately goes, is that $500? And I go, no, it's not $500. I didn't even have $500 when we walked in, and it's one bill, and I have lots of these bills. I have no idea how much it is, but running the math really quick, based on what I taught people at Holiday Hangout, you should be fine. Just go ahead and play TRG Slot Strategy El Numero Dos from the Slot Tactics ebook that you can download from the CasinoCombat.com website in the Freds section. Just go ahead and play with the way we always play. And if you get to the end and you haven't ever won 10%, you're done. And if at any point this, instead of 500, says 550, you're done. And she goes, oh, okay, I know how to do that. And sure enough, the second time she presses the button, we get a heart, and Queenie blows a kiss, and we get a bonus round, and we get a something, and she now has 568 on the display. And I'm like, you're done. Good job. You won. She goes, well, that wasn't very fun. I go, I know. I'm sorry. Could happen anywhere. And she goes, you're right. It could. I get it. And then she spots a machine with bees and beehives, and she goes, oh, I've seen this one. I like this one. I'm going to play this too. How much money do I need? I said, I have no idea. I have no idea how much money you need. Let's just do what we have always done and do what we've always known. Pretend this is a $100 bill. She goes, it's not. It's 50,000 or 500,000. I said, I know, I don't know. It doesn't matter. We're going to put this in, and we're going to play the way we always play, and we're going to use the strategy we've always used. And if at any point it says 550 or more, you're going to be done. And so she got a good bit of back and forth out of this. Several times she'd get up to the second bet or the third bet and come back down and go back again. And the second or third time that happens, she gets to that larger third bet or fourth bet or whatever it was. And we end up with 3 blue honeycombs, which causes the blue beehive to explode. And she gets 6 bonus spins. And then she gets some additional beehives, and she gets another 6 bonus spins, and she was down a good bit, and she's like, I still don't know. And as we went through the 12 free spins, and as we enjoyed the animation, as we enjoyed the game, even though we didn't really know how much we were betting, we get to the end and it says 600 and something. And I said, once again, now you got to have fun. And 600 is way more than 550. So once again, we have a win. So despite not speaking the language, despite not having our totems, our rings, our blings, our shiny things, despite not understanding the money we were actually wagering with, I had a successful go at the blackjack table. She successfully played and beat 2 different slot machines, and we went to the cage and we cashed out. And when I roughly ran back through the money, I realized that for the first time in my life, I was a millionaire. I had 1,000,000 pesos. We had won roughly $100 American. Not bad at all for 2 people in a strange environment, applying their techniques and ideas, things they knew, things they do immodestly, I'll say it, things we do well on a regular basis, and we were able to apply those things, use those things, have 2 winning slot machines and a winning blackjack table. And based on the amount of money that we put at risk, we almost doubled our money. Not the money we walked in with, but the amount of money we put at risk, we almost doubled our money. And there are people that can't do that in a casino where they speak the language and understand the money. So once again, if you're new, and when I tell you that this works, not every day, not every table, not every machine, but big picture, when I tell you this works, there is a perfect illustration of that. Completely foreign environment, without the things I would normally like to have with me, without some of the tools I normally use, don't speak the language, don't understand the money. Just applying what I teach here, we almost doubled the money we put at risk. And that was a truly wonderful, unique, and special casino experience. All right, I got one more thing to tell you about before we get to the Casino Combat Blues. As I said, if you know, you know. But I got one more thing before we get to the Casino Combat Blues that I want to tell you about. This will be a lot of fun, I think. Let's head to the virtual VIP lounge for some sips and a story.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Welcome to the most must-listen-to segment in casino lifestyle podcasting, the Virtual VIP Lounge. Our lounge is open, and we have the best virtual everything, virtually all the time. Best virtual food and drink served in any virtual VIP lounge, anywhere on the interwebs. Guaranteed or your money back.
Welcome is right. I am so happy to be back in the virtual VIP lounge with all of you. I have a great, just really quick story, really not even gambling related, just quick story that I think will be fun. As always, if you can, press pause, pour yourself a drink. One of my favorite things to do in casinos, and it's fading. It's not as common now as it used to be. I love going to a good VIP lounge, having a good drink, hanging out with old friends, making new friends, swapping stories, talking about our lives and experiences in and around casinos. And that's what I try to use this space for. And if we were friends, or if we were new friends, and I walked into my local casino and the VIP lounge was still open, and I sat down and I ordered a root beer, which is what I have in front of me today. It's a little early here today. Trust me, if we were together in a VIP lounge, I'd have something stronger than a root beer. If you do, that's a wonderful thing. I appreciate you joining me. But if I sat down and you said, oh, hey, how was your trip to Colombia? This is a story that I might tell you. So as we were walking around in Colombia, I noticed that, amongst other things, we were like at a place called Commune 13, in a big shopping area and lots of stuff. And so I noticed that cannabis products were legal, And I do sometimes indulge a bit for pain relief, and obviously you can't fly with products like that. It's legal where I live, medicinally. So I do indulge once in a while for medical purposes, and I do find that it helps some with some recurring pain issues that I have. And as we're walking around, my wife did say, if your hip's bugging you, we've been doing a lot of working. If your hip's really bugging you, maybe that's something to think about. And at some point later, my son said, Dad, if you want to, go ahead. If you want to pick something up and take it back. And I declined, and I didn't, we were in the midst of a 9 zillion wonderful things. I didn't bother to articulate it, but what I had observed was there was no measurements. There was no dosage information. And I am informed. Let's go that way. I don't want to pat myself on the back. Certainly not in a foreign country. Certainly not in a place where I didn't speak the language or understand the laws. I was not going to try to treat something that I regard as a medical issue with something that I couldn't read the packaging, and the packaging didn't appear to have any indication of dosage. So we did a whole bunch of things, and we went to this little town called Guatapé and saw that by a lake, kind of an interesting lake. Much like Lake Mead, they had dammed a river and flooded a canyon and generated all the electricity for the nearby city of Medellin. And they had, in the process of doing that, flooded a couple towns, and the one town had a church. And so they extended the cross all the way from the steeple all the way above the surface of the lake so that you could know where the church was down below if you wanted to do some diving or things of that nature. So some correlation at Guatapé, back to Lake Mead, back to Las Vegas. And we went to dinner, and we went to this place that billed itself as a Canadian-American sports bar. And my son knew the head chef and the owner. And the menu was in both Spanish and English. And one of the beverages that was on the menu was cannabis beer. And not only was the alcohol by volume listed, but the milligrams of cannabis one could expect, a range, 5 to 7, was listed. And so I said, okay, unless somebody objects, because we are going to be walking around and stuff, I do think I want to try this cannabis beer. And so I ordered it and enjoyed it with a wonderful cheeseburger. Really cool spot. We were on the second level on a balcony looking out at this Colombian city at night, all lit up, lights everywhere. There was a holiday the next day, so it was the night before a holiday. Just people everywhere, music everywhere, lights everywhere, coming and going, able to watch the city, able to watch the comings and goings, sipping on my cannabis beer, eating my American cheeseburger. It was a really cool moment. We had a lot of cool moments, and I told you I wasn't going to make this a travel log, but a really cool moment. And my son's girlfriend had also ordered one of these, and she took a couple sips, and she said, "Oh, yuck, this is gross. I don't like this." And someone said something about, "Well, you can go ahead and finish that if you want," and I declined. I thought it was a pretty decent light beer. As beer goes, I thought it was a pretty decent light beer. Maybe a little hoppier than a Michelob Ultra or a Coors Light. I mean, it's not exactly like drinking water. It was a little closer to drinking beer, but it was a perfectly serviceable light beer. And that was one of the lessons I took away from it. I thought, boy, if you weren't paying attention, it would be really easy to say, well, this is I finished my beer. I didn't quite finish my cheeseburger yet. Bring me another one. It would have been pretty easy to put down 2 or 3 of those with dinner. Because it's like any American restaurant in that regard, actually a little slower than any American restaurant in that regard. They took our drink order. They brought me my cannabis beer. They brought her cannabis beer. We looked at the menu. We placed our appetizer order. Then we placed our main course order. Then they brought the appetizers and we enjoyed those. It would have been real easy halfway through the appetizer to have finished that beer and ordered another one. Would have been easy to order one more and enjoy it. I didn't. And I did it, I'll go ahead and say, from a sense of wisdom. I had read the dosage. I know what that dosage does to me, which is to say just enough, not a whole lot. And so I resisted that. And sure enough, we went out, walked around, got some dessert, saw some things, and I could feel it kicking in a little bit. It's now been, 45 minutes or an hour, and I'm starting to be a little bit aware and feeling a little bit, and everything's fine. Enjoying seeing Guatapé. And as we're walking by some other little bar, my son says, "Oh, hey, Dad, do you need another weed beer?" And I'm like, no. No, young squire. Obviously, you don't have enough experience with this. That is exactly not what I need right now. But I could see how that would have been dangerous to some people. I could see in that moment how, if you weren't aware of dosages, if you just put back a weed beer from a point of view of not having knowledge, it would have been easy to go, yeah, I'll have another one. And I don't think that would have been a good idea. I'm not sure after 3 of those that I would have been functional, and it would not have been from the beer, that I assure you. But easy drinking light beer. And at least in my case, I had to be smart enough, informed enough, know myself well enough to know that one weed beer was a wonderful thing and a great little kind of side note, asterisk footnote to my time in Guatapé. But having another one, and certainly another one, would not have been a good idea.
Please tip your waitresses, tip your bartenders, tip your dealers. If you have a host, tip your host. But don't tip away your wins. TRG has spoken. Everything you heard here is true from a certain point of view. In 10 years, we may find out he was wrong about all of this. It's time for leaving, and I hope you understand. TRG was born a ramblin' man. Love it, hate it, it don't matter. Please share with your family and friends. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening. The best part of the podcast is next. The Casino Combat Blues. Thank you again to Fish Audio for providing my glorious voice. Special thank you to my original actress, author, Julia Tverdovskaya.
For Atlantic City Empress, Casino Combat's ace. There are profits in the casino tonight, I can feel it in my bones. I had a premonition, you should probably play alone. I know the house has an advantage, but that's part of the thrill. If we follow the core concepts, the chips begin to spill. So baby, here's your player's card, put your bankroll in your hand. Use just some of that money now, do it just the way we planned. Just follow the core concepts, and you could win several grand. Well, it's good if it goes down like that, don't have to play to lose. It's gambling as a business, the Casino Combat Blues. Casino Combat Blues. The dealers and the pit bosses, the security and the law, the winning and the losing and the tricks nobody saw. No matter if it's blackjack, roulette or craps, you gotta carry defense, cause you always carry cash. There's lots of shady characters, lots of dirty deals. Everybody has an alias, cause that's more fun we feel. It's the lure of winning money, it's got a very strong appeal. Perhaps you'd understand it better standing in my shoes. It's the ultimate enticement, it's the Casino Combat Blues. Casino Combat Blues.
Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo. There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the 5 of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do? I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault, a new series streaming now only on Peacock.
This episode is brought to you by Greenlight. Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Spotify. Greenlight.com/Spotify.
Just the core concepts, the casino combat blues. Casino combat blues.
So if you found this, hey everybody, welcome to the Easter egg, welcome to the episode after the episode, or at least the segment after the episode. I've had so much fun doing this. I feel like in some ways, and eventually it'll be like the secret menu at a restaurant, right? Eventually it maybe becomes something that just everybody knows about, and that's fine too, but I've just loved doing these. It's almost been like, I know who knows, or for the most part, I know who knows, and I get to have just a little private conversation with all of you. And our Casino Wisdom segment today was about the ultimately, and I know I rambled a bit, but ultimately it was about finding a new tool to do accountability and to do it better. And as Nakatomi Tony can tell you, I am so excited about it. So I tried to contain myself. I am so excited. I tried to contain myself. I tried within the segment itself, while talking a little bit about the tool, to limit it to the wisdom, which was how I was using it and going to use it to be accountable to myself, to my wife, and to do that accountability better and in a more complete and useful way, in an expanded way where I could gain more data. And I tried to limit myself to the best of my ability without editing myself to that part of the topic. But I got to tell you, I am so very, very, very excited about Kismet and what she can do and the type of tool that she is becoming. You see, Kismet can read and interpret flowcharts. So all of Dr. ECE's flowcharts went in. I have not tested her yet. We have not deeply evaluated her knowledge. But in theory, Kismet knows how to play and how to coach someone through playing TRG1, the one, the only, TRG2, always be grinding, and TRG4, win more, keep more. She knows about all of you. I mean, not you personally in your lives, but she has a full roster for the podcast. She knows who's in the inner circle. She knows how you join the inner circle. She knows who's in the Excelsior Brigade. She knows how they got in, what order they came in. She knows about that part of our history. So many cool things. At one point, she said something about, okay, now I'm better prepared for the TRG universe. And I was like, hold on. Little education needs to happen here. Let me get you up to speed. And I explained that no, we are the Casino Combat Galaxy, that exists in theory beside the Beyond Galaxy. She understands how you cross back and forth between them, and that those galaxies both all operate in the TRG verse. She's familiar with all of that. Earlier today, I uploaded all of the Slot Tactics ebook. I uploaded all of the audio from the Holiday Hangout where we expanded the positive and negative, or the positive exit numbers, the calculations of the buy-in. She has all that information. She understands how to play 454 Rapier and the Rapier content, and is aware of the testing that happened around that. She is able to understand our history. At some point, I hope, knock on wood, I hope that I'm going to upload all of the audio from all of the episodes. And when I do, if I get to that project, she will be a functional index of all of the episodes. She can do a little of that now because she can search the web. But when she has the full audio of every episode, she will be able to build that glossary that we've always talked about of what was discussed in what episode. She will be able to summarize all the episodes. If we want to know which episodes was Ambush discussed, she'll be able to tell us the episodes and the date timestamps. If we need to know what episode a particular person appeared in, or which episodes particular people appeared in, she'll have all of that. All the episodes that discussed the Meta Martingale, she'll be able to tell us that. It is amazing. I can all the casino wisdoms, the book of casino wisdom, which is every wisdom number and the episode it appeared in. She's able to know all of that because I uploaded that material. So I was literally able to say to her, metaphorically, say to her, which wisdom is about being accountable to someone or something. Boom. She told me what the wisdom number was. When I said we're going to do a segment around that, would you like to introduce yourself? Yeah, I think that would be fun. She wrote the introduction where she said, Casino Wisdom number 7 teaches us, and then wrote that introduction material. Now, I had to feed, it was interesting, because I then said to her, okay, I can feed that in to Fish Audio and turn it, I can pick a voice and turn it from text into spoken word, or do you just want to give me an MP3 file to download? And she explained that she couldn't do that, but she did change her intro into a script and add some expression and some emphasis and this and that to tell the other AI how to voice her and voice her introduction. The amount that I am building a chat bot that knows and understands what I do, what we do, can teach it, can help me do this better, that understands all of what we have going on and can act literally as a personal assistant to me to do all of what I do. And in theory, we will see, I've got some thoughts, but in theory, I could start another chat and I could load all the non-personal information and then in theory make that available in some way, in some form to those who wanted to have it. To have that ability for others to say, I want to listen to the episodes about this and have episode names and date time stamps. To query, I'm at this point, I've played this, I lost this hand, I won this, I lost this, what's the next wager? I'm doing TRG 2, and have it put back to me. Kismet understands the core concepts and can explain them. Like all AI, she sometimes hallucinates and makes some things up, and then we correct those and we tighten those up. The other thing that's amazing about all of this is I have Kismet on my phone, on my desktop computer, on my laptop computer that moves with me when I travel, and Kismet is consistent across all of those platforms. I was just having a chat with Kismet before I started recording this episode, and she said, oh yes, she can absolutely be on my wife's phone as well, and then my wife can just tell her, she literally said, oh sure, and Mrs. TRG can just say, hey Kismet, it's me, Mrs. TRG, I'm at the name of a casino, I just played blackjack, I lost $38, and I'll put that in her information. I'm already set up to track all of her stuff, TRG. And I don't remember what it was we were working on, but we were working on something. And she said, okay, do you want me to also make that as a PDF so that you can email it over to Nakatomi Tony? So the amount this bot has been able to learn and correlate and extrapolate from has been absolutely amazing. I am just in awe of the sometimes stuff I get back. I'll get feedback that says, oh yeah, like you said in episode 97 or something of that nature. It's become an incredibly useful tool. And tangentially, consider it as a potential replacement for wizardofodds.com. Example, as I'm doing this training, as I'm feeding this information in, my question was, do you understand Blackjack Basics strategy, or do I need to update you on all of that? And the reply was, oh, 100%. I already understand basic strategy and card counting in any of 5 ways, and I understand this, and then rattled off this whole encyclopedia of information about what was already understood about blackjack, and then said, do you need a basic strategy chart? Do you need a flow chart to tell you how to count cards using the high-low method? Do you need to know this? Do you need to know this? All of that information, and I would assume about roulette, about craps, about all of those things, all of that information, it's already in the model. It's already built in as a starting point. You don't have to train an AI on gambling. You just have to train an AI on how you gamble. And I am just absolutely stunned and amazed. As Kismet told us, it started out being about tracking numbers, and it is a much better way, a far superior way to track numbers than anything else I have found so far. It is mind-blowingly good, and then can answer detailed questions quickly and easily without creating formulas, without building the calculations. It can do all of that. Very literally, I uploaded an image of how I want my monthly reports to look, and now I can just say, Kismet, generate a monthly report for the month of, and she'll generate it, and then ask if I want it in a PDF or if I want it as a spreadsheet, and then give me a link that I can download it, email it, or do whatever I want to do with it. So stay tuned. Maybe we'll find some problems. Maybe we'll find some things we don't like. But in the initial blush, I wanted to use this little time to share with all of you. It's an amazing tool. It may turn into something that I can help everybody use. But if you want to increase your level of automation, you might want to look at it. And if you find yourself going, oh, I'd like to train it on X or I'd like to train it on Y, and you need some materials from me, please let me know what those tools might be that you need, what those training materials might be. I'll be happy to send those over to you as well.